Alright, so we're going to create a new object here. Just going to do geometry, and I'm going to name this magic. This is where we're going to be working and creating all of the effects, and then later we're going to split those out into different objects for rendering and blending between the two. So right now we're just going to go into magic, and now we're going to drop an object merge. Oop. And we're just going to pop over to set geo, and we're going to bring that in. So now that we have this in, we want to isolate this bowl here because we need to create a volume that we can then scatter points into and use that to create our fluid. So I'm just going to count this down, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to get rid of it so that the water level goes up to here, to this ring. So I'm just going to hold Shift A, middle click, and that gives me my ring. So I'm just going to hit delete. And then that really easily allows me to go like this. And then I can just delete non-selected. Cool. And so then now I'm going to create a polyfill. And so it always wants to create quads. I don't think we really need that since we don't need good topology here. We're just straight up creating a volume for our liquid. So now that we have our object, I'm just going to create a null here. And I'm going to call it volume. Now that we have our volume, we need to go into a pop net. Or no, sorry, not a pop network. We're going to create a dot network. And we're going to construct ourselves a little flip solver. So the first thing we need is we need to create a flip object. And then we need a flip solver. So right now, what we need to do is we have to go and we need to point to the volume that we created. And so I've already put some time into finding a good value for this. Right now these things are way too large. And what we need to do is we're just going to change the particle separation. So I'm going to make it 0.006. And now this is much more manageable. However, you can see that our bounding region is just way too large. And so what we can do is we can go into the flip solver, and then if we go to volume motion, we can just reduce this by a whole lot. You can see that I took it a bit too far. That's fine, I can just raise this up. It's never going to be splashing out, so really this bounding box can be pretty low. So yeah, we'll just have it something like that. Though now if I were to play this, I'll just give it a couple frames. First, it's not going to do anything because we don't have any gravity. So, create a gravity force, stick that there. Now I'll play it, and it's just going to fall. So now what we need to do is we need a collision object of the bowl that we had. So just go to create a merge, and then we just need a static object. Move this down, and then we want left inputs affect right inputs. So right now we just need to pop that up. So now this object is going to be affecting this, but this isn't going to be affecting this. So now we need our object, our collision object. So we are just going to do another a null. And we already have our object. It's this here. And we'll just say out collide. So if we go back into here, we can just easily source that. Go to out collide. There we have our collision object. One thing that I'm always sort of wary of though is that, so we don't really want to see the display geometry so much as we want to see the collision guide. And let's see how that's looking. It's looking okay. I think we can up the uniform divisions a bit. So we're actually going to make this something like 80. And see, now we have a much more representative shape of our collision object. So now, let me just do that. Now we can look at our display geometry, and I'll just play a few frames and see what this looks like. There really shouldn't be a whole lot going on, because it's just sitting in a bowl. Yep. Pretty boring. Alright, so what we need to do now is we need to create our wind.